Hi, I'm Bob Dacey. Welcome to my studio. The demo you're about to see took about a little over an hour to do, and we fast forwarded it to a little over 10 minutes. I don't paint that fast, really. I hope you'll enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, here we go. This is the drawing I'm going to be doing the demo from. It's a small drawing, 3 by 5 inches. I'm using John Assaro's Planes of the Head sculpture as a guide for the lighting. This is my work area. It's set up to the right. I'm right-handed. Starting by washing in water, just clear water, on the hair area. That's going to be the lightest area in the painting. It's going to be a white, or it's going to appear white anyhow. And of course, white's never white. So I start off by adding a yellow. It's actually a yellow ochre, soft yellow, to where the light area is, where the lightest part of the hair will be. And then coming down away from that with burnt sienna, violet, and finally into ultramarine blue and Payne's gray. Give sort of a roundness to the head, just a little bit. I'll be tweaking that throughout. While that's drying, I'll start going into the area of her blouse, or it's like a cowled overgarment. I want that to be a little darker than the hair and cooler. So I'm using Payne's gray and ultramarine blue with some phthalo green and violet. Violet and phthalo green are on either side of blue, so they're analogous colors, and you can use them easily in a blue area. While that's drying, I'm going back into the hair, especially the hair on the far side of her head, and also into the edges of the hair where it curls away from the light and making things a little bit darker. Jumping from one part to the other, as one part is a little bit too damp, I'll go over to the other one. As that's drying, I'll move to the second one. So you're going to see this going on quite a bit here. Until I get to detailing, I'll keep doing that. Now I'm wetting in the background, which is going to be very dark, so all of my lights are dry. And the background is being colored in with, again, blue, mainly Payne's gray and ultramarine, but that means I'm going to be using violets and greens as well, and even a little sepia. As the background comes around to the shadow side of the face, it goes under the chin and to the hair, I'm adding a yellow color to brighten that up a little bit, and then of course making it darker again as it goes down in front of the blouse. Now I'm adding some shadow areas into the blouse, and of course pulling them in so they relate to the background, sort of breaking up the edge of the background color. And while that's drying, go into the ear, at least start some skin tones there. I made a little mistake, so go back and correct it. Watercolor is not the unforgiving medium that most people think it is. And while the ear is drying, I'm going in and adding some shadow around the garment again and into the hair area. A little bit of shadow underneath. It's more of a test than anything else, underneath the hair. And now I'm softening the edge of the hair some more. Again, trying to give it more of a roundness. I'll keep fussing with this throughout. While that's drying, go into the shadow on the far side of the garment, the cowl of the garment anyhow. Again, bringing that into the background. And softening the edges. It looked dark enough before, but not really. I don't want that to stick out. Actually, I want the focus to come up at the face, so that's where my contrast will be. Now I'm just washing in with water. You can see the glow of the light on the watercolor. Just washing that in with a wash of water and then coming in with a skin tone. The skin tone will be actually 3 colors. A yellow ochre, an alizarin brown matter, and violet. Yellow ochre and alizarin brown matter will be the main part of the skin tones, but as it gets towards the shadows and moving away from the light, I'll rely more heavily on violet along with a little of the red. I always use 3 colors when I do a skin tone. Some form of blue, some form of red, and some form of yellow. Oh, the board's on like a 10-degree slant. That's where you're going to get some of the watercolor kind of collecting in the areas to the lower part. If you're just aware of it, you know how to deal with it. It's not a big problem. I'll even often work vertical, especially if I'm working from a model directly. So there's some violet in the neck area to try to get shadow area into it. That also helps relate it to the background and to her hair and to the material. So that color is repeated throughout. Now coming in, just starting to block in some of the shadows. By doing all this blocking in layers, I can maintain a softer edge, because every time you put down another layer, the edge changes a little bit, and it remains a little softer. If I were to put down a very harsh edge right from the start, I'd be fighting it throughout the piece. So you'll notice I'm just trying to keep soft edges. Hard edges aren't going to really come in on the face, at least, until the end. Of course, you're working them all the way on the garment and on the hair. You know, the edge of forms. But in the form of the head itself, I want a lot of soft edges. So better off layering. Back to the hair again, which still got a little bit too bright because of the darkness, the dark colors going around it. And that hair on the far side, I keep, when it dries enough, I go back into it, give it another layer. To me, that's a very important part of the piece, is to get that just the right value. Adding a little color into the eyes. By color, it's like an off-white. And the irises will get a little bit of yellow. And color around the lips. Again, building it slowly. Sort of feeling my way into this. Starting to get, notice how I'm stroking along the muscle of the neck. I want to get a feeling of that right from the start. That's a pink color I'm adding to the nose and cheek. I'll keep adding layers of that. It's actually a color called Opera that both Holbein and Winsor Newton make. And I use a combination of both paints, Winsor Newton and Holbein. They work just fine together. And I find there's some colors in each that I prefer. Again, a little more color to the eyes. And we're going to pull back in a minute so you can see more of the painting. Yeah, see a little of it was cut off there on the left. Now you can see the whole thing. We'll come in a little bit and get back into the detail area. We'll come in a little closer. This gives you, I'm also going to, near the end, get rid of that blotch in the upper right-hand corner. It's a little bit too strong. Softening again. Always just back and forth. Every time you put one color down, a value down, it dictates something else to happen to what's going on around it. Like I said, I'm feeling my way through this thing. You're starting to really see some of the form now, and strengthening the shadows and the features. Although the features are just built out of shadow shapes. More of that pink color. Keep layering a little bit more, a little bit more. This is a little more than halfway along. Maybe 3/4 of the way along. Yeah, smoothing out those colors on the neck. Now I feel confident enough to start adding the darker details, especially in the eyes, which of course is where I want you to go. I'll still have to do some washes over those, but if they're dry enough, that won't matter. So the lips and the eyes I'm going to be really focusing on now. This means adding a little more color to the eyes, a little more value to the eyes. And pushing those shadow shapes. While that dries, go over to the ear, or to the neck for that matter. pushing the shadow shapes a little bit more. Again, I don't want hard edges. Not on the form. I don't mind it on the chin or the edge of the form, but not inside the form, unless it's a cast shadow, which I don't have a lot of. That was just adding a little bit of a deep, warm brown to sort of create the inside of the mouth just slightly. As you can see, I've switched to the Series 7 number 4 for all the work now. The Da Vinci has done its job. We're really into that kind of boring tweaking stage where everything's just a little darker. Actually, there are some areas where I do lighten them up. You just take a little water on the brush and work the area a little bit. You can lighten it up. There's that pink going in just a little darker. It seemed dark enough before, wasn't dark enough. The area around the ear will get a little more attention, as will the detailing in the eyes, just a little darker, a little more color, lips and eyes. Starting to really define the shadow under the chin, a few little harder edges down there under the nose. And I still don't like the harshness of the edge of the hair, so coming back in and just using a little water to pull some of the background color into it to soften that edge. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed painting it. Thank you.